1. The Mongol Empire, 1206 to 1368. Extreme scale and impact. The largest contiguous land empire in history, forged by Genghis Khan and his successors. Its expansion was breathtakingly fast and brutal. Extreme methods. They perfected psychological warfare, using mass terror and slaughter to break resistance. Some historical accounts claim they killed so many people in certain regions that forests regrew and carbon levels in the atmosphere dropped. They also established a revolutionary system of meritocracy and religious tolerance within their administration too. The fall of Tenochtitlan, 1521. Extreme clash of worlds. A few hundred Spanish conquistadors, led by Hernán Cortés, besieged and destroyed the magnificent island capital of the Aztec Empire, a city larger than any in Europe at the time. Extreme factors. This wasn't just a military conquest. It was enabled by smallpox, which killed up to half the population, including the emperor, the recruitment of tens of thousands of indigenous allies who hated Aztec rule, and the sheer cultural shock of the encounter. 3. The Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804. Extreme achievement. The only successful slave revolt in history that resulted in the creation of a new nation. Enslaved Africans and Afro-Caribbeans defeated the armies of France, Britain, and Spain in sequence. Extreme brutality and will. The fighting was vicious on all sides. The revolutionaries, led by figures like Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, ultimately declared independence, creating the world's first black republic, a profound shock to the slave-based economies of the Atlantic world. 4. The Great Dying, c. 1347 to 1351. Extreme demographic catastrophe. The Black Death, bubonic plague, killed an estimated 75-200 million people in Eurasia and North Africa, wiping out 30 to 60% of Europe's population in just a few years. Extreme societal change. The scale of death was incomprehensible. It led to the collapse of feudalism, as labor became scarce and valuable, widespread religious crisis, persecution of minorities, and a complete reordering of medieval society. 5. The Siege of Leningrad, 1941 to 1944. Extreme endurance and suffering. A 872-day Nazi blockade during World War II aimed to starve the city into surrender. Approximately 1.5 million civilians and soldiers died, mostly from starvation. People ate sawdust, leather, and, in desperate cases, each other. Yet the city never formally surrendered. 6. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 1945. Extreme technological leap. The first and only use of nuclear weapons in warfare. In an instant, a single bomb could erase a city. The blinding flash, heat, and radiation effects represented a quantum leap in humanity's destructive power, ushering in the Cold War and the constant threat of global annihilation. 7. The Khmer Rouge and Year Zero, 1975 to 1979. Extreme social engineering. Pol Pot's regime sought to create an agrarian communist utopia by forcibly evacuating cities, abolishing money, religion, and education. They targeted anyone with ties to the old society, intellectuals, professionals, even people who wore glasses. Extreme outcome. An estimated 1.5 to 2 million people, a quarter of the population, died from execution, starvation, and overwork in the killing fields in just under 4 years, one of the most intense genocides relative to population size. 8. The conquests of Timur, Tamerlane, late 14th century. Extreme personal cruelty and monument building. A Turco-Mongol conqueror who built pyramids of human skulls from the cities he sacked, Isfahan, Delhi, Baghdad, as a deliberate tactic of terror. He claimed to be restoring the Mongol Empire but was infamous for his sheer, gratuitous brutality, even by the standards of his time. 9. The Inlushan Rebellion, 755-763 AD, China. Extreme death toll, often overlooked. A catastrophic civil war during China's Tang dynasty. Census data suggests the population dropped by roughly 36 million people, about two-thirds of the total population and around 15% of the entire world's population at the time. The death toll likely makes it the single deadliest conflict in history relative to global population. 10. The Scramble for Africa. C. 1881 to 1914. Extreme geopolitical land grab. European powers, at the Berlin Conference, literally carved up an entire continent with no regard for existing cultures, kingdoms, or ethnic groups, using new technologies like the machine gun and quinine. For malaria, they completed the conquest of 90% of Africa in a blindingly short period, creating arbitrary borders whose tragic consequences are still felt today.